Last week I was fortunate enough to fly out to Sardinia for the launch of Moto Guzzi's new mid-capacity adventure bike, the V85TT. I was sent out there on behalf of Bike World, who I'll be making a video for soon, so please do follow the link in the description to their channel and hit subscribe if you want to see that video when it goes live. But I also managed to capture some moto vlogging footage on some very tasty roads to post here on my own channel, so here it is. As always, let me know what you think of the bike in the comments below, and also leave me any questions about the bike and I'll try to get back to you. I was hoping for a little bit of tranquil riding this afternoon back to the hotel so that I could make a vlog and concentrate on talking. But I've just got put behind the ride leader, who's pretty rapid, and these roads are quite twisty to say the least, so forgive me if there's a little bit of a gap in my commentary. But yeah, this bike is Moto Guzzi's new mid-capacity adventure bike. They say that they are creating a new sort of genre in the market, and they call it classic enduro. Obviously enduro, with it being a reasonably capable off-road bike, and the classic coming from the looks. Styling is unmistakably retro, especially this yellow, white and red bike, which takes its paint job from the sort of 70s Guzzis that were used on the Dakar Rally. Quite divisive, this paint job on my Instagram feed, the comments. Some people absolutely love this paint job, myself included. Other people not so keen. But it is available in some more subdued tones, like silver. There's a few silver bikes out on the test ride today. Red as well, a kind of bluish colour. But I think it's a great looking bike overall, whatever colour it's in. This is something different to my usual moto vlogs, isn't it, when you look at the scenery? Normally trundling around the middle of London. So it's a brand new frame, but it's built around the sort of non-negotiable longitudinally mounted 90-degree V-twin and the shaft drive. They wanted to keep it fundamentally a Moto Guzzi, and those are some defining characteristics, but then they built the bike up around that. The motor is, you know, very similar to the V9, although there have been some changes to the internals. It's 853cc, puts out 80 horsepower at peak and also 80 newton meters of peak torque. And it's a really nice engine to ride, quite predictable and like linear in its power delivery. It's meant to be a very smooth and easy bike to ride, and it certainly is. There's enough torque to pull out of most corners in most gears, but there's enough there to keep you entertained on the roads like this. But I've really enjoyed riding it so far. Like I say, I love the motor. I've ridden the V7 a few months ago, and I like that bike for around town, but I think the increased capacity is definitely a big plus if you're doing roads like this. It did feel a little bit out of gas when you get up to higher speeds, whereas this is happy, you know, pushing on a little bit. You've got the 19-inch wheel up front. But it still handles pretty nicely. I think the consensus today from all of the journalists has been that it's a fairly nimble bike. And that's probably helped a little bit by the decent suspension. It's got upside down forks on the front, 41mm, and then monoshock on the rear, mounted off to one side. Both of them are preload and rebound adjustable. I think my only complaint is a little bit soft on the front when you're braking harder into some of these corners. Dives a little bit, but perhaps with a bit of twiddling you could firm it up. The brakes at the front are twin radially mounted Brembos, and obviously they're more than enough for a little bit of sporty riding. I haven't really had to heave on them massively, but they certainly seem to do the job. And the rear caliper is, I think, own brand, or unbranded rather. But again, seems to do the job. So yeah, as I've said, it's classic styling or retro styling, but they have tried to make it a capable off-roader. So you'll note things like the travel on the suspension is pretty decent. On this yellow and white model, you get some slightly more off-roady Michelin tires than on some of the other models. Foot pegs have removable rubber grips, and you've got things like hand guards as well, and the seat is quite nice. It comes up quite high here, offers you a bit of space to slide around, but definitely the intention is to make it a bit of a touring machine, as most adventure bikes ought to be. So you've got plenty of comforts, a TFT screen. Apologies that it's blocked a little bit by my GoPro there. Oh goodness me, that looks grueling. Yeah, so there's a decent amount of electronics here. You've got the TFT dash, a USB socket there. The dash connects to your phone if you so wish, so you can get navigation up on the screen there. You can take calls, you can control your music and that kind of thing. Cruise control, heated grips are an option. A couple of options on screens as well. I quite like this low one. It does save your body, but you can still feel quite a lot of wind on your head. The taller screen, I tried that bike earlier. It kind of made my head vibe around a little bit, but it's probably just that I'm at the wrong height. It definitely gave you a bit more protection up to about here. So that'd be a good option if you're touring. And of course there's panniers and all those kinds of things. A big factor as well is going to be the comfort of the ride. I find this bike, the ergonomics, is almost spot on for me. The seat height is 830mm, so not particularly tall for an adventure bike. It's still a bit of a stretch for me. I'm 5'9" and I've got short legs. It runs in the family, unfortunately, so I do have to slip a bum cheek off the side of the saddle just to get a foot down sometimes. But yeah, generally I find the seating position really good. The bars are wide and high. The foot pegs are in a nice spot where my knees are at a reasonable angle. They're quite open, and the seat is really comfy, nice and flat across it. But it's got a nice little cupped bit at the back to stop you sliding too far back, so it's absolutely perfect really. So it feels really nice to me. I can see how this could be comfortable for sustained miles. And speaking of sustained miles, the tank is 23 litres, so again that's trying to add to those touring credentials, and they reckon it's good for 400 kilometers. So what's that, about 250 miles or something like that. We only learnt of the dry weight, which I believe was 208 kilos, which is not too bad, I suppose. But obviously fueling up is going to add a fair old chunk to that with such a big tank. But like I say, the seat height isn't particularly massive, so for a lot of people that are a little bit taller than me, they should be able to get both feet down, no problems. But yeah, I think overall it's just a lovely ride. It feels very stable at low speeds, stable at higher speeds as well, but it's also nimble. It's good fun on these twisties. We've had lots of fast sweeping bends like this and short sharp ones, and hasn't felt sketchy at all. We've done a little bit of off-roading. That's not my forte, so I'm probably not the best person to advise on whether it's off-road capable, but of the little loop that we did for a few photos and just to have a little bit of chance to slide around and stuff, you know, I felt totally confident just riding around on the gravel. So yeah, perhaps if you're like me where that's not something you do a lot of but you wouldn't mind dabbling, then I can't see why it would be a problem on this bike. So as you can tell, I've enjoyed riding this bike today. I really like it all round. It's got that character, but there's also a decent amount of tech. It's a good ride, brakes are good. I'm just trying to think if there are any negatives. Perhaps the switch gear is a little bit fiddly for me, but I think those sorts of things, you grow into them when you own a bike, so I don't think they're particularly massive problems. Just small things like to change the riding mode, you actually double tap the start button, which I've never come across before. Oh god, that was a big bump. Yeah, I've never come across that before on any other bike. But like I say, it's just a little bit unusual, but it doesn't mean that you can't learn quickly to come around to it. I suppose the only other question might be around the price. I believe it's somewhere in the region of 10.5, 11 grand. And look, there's always going to be something cheaper with higher specs. I think that the power on this bike, the suspension, the brakes, all of those kinds of things are pretty good. But yeah, like I say, there's always going to be something cheaper that you're going to get a little bit more for your money in that respect. But I really deeply suspect that that's not what's going to get people to buy this bike. I think as long as the specs are good enough, which they definitely are, it's got plenty of torque, plenty of power, good stopping, good suspension, good electronics, and also it comes with quite a few decent things like handguards and the skid plate as standard, so you don't have to go shelling out for those aftermarket. But yeah, I think given that all of that is enough for somebody, it's probably going to be the brand, the looks, the character that sell this bike. And it does have that gutsy character as well. When you start it up, you can feel it wobble into life, and then it's shaking side to side at low revs. Not particularly dramatically, but just enough so that you know that it's a Moto Guzzi. And yeah, some people are going to really like that. So yeah, that's about it from me today. We're pretty much back at the hotel now, so or not far to go anyway. So to summarize, it's been an enjoyable ride for sure. There's lots to like about this bike. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. I think it's a really good looking bike as well. I think that's unanimous, but maybe a few people won't like it. Let me know what you think. And also if you've got any questions at all, then let me know and I'll try and get back to you. And of course, if you're new here and you want to see more test ride videos like this, I probably won't be in Sardinia every week, but I'll do my best. Then do hit subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.